All right, welcome back from our break, everyone. We are going to begin talking now about the Greatest Journey Discipleship Program. Now, I know that so many of you are here because you are Greatest Journey teachers, but if you are here as a ministry team leader, please continue to stay with us during this time because you have an important role. Even though you might not be one of the teachers in the classrooms with the children, it is part of your role to encourage the teachers to make sure that, again, we are caring for the safety of children. Everyone is staying connected to Jesus, that we are being an example of Jesus to children, and that these teachers stay encouraged and supported throughout the journey. And because you are at training, if you are needed to jump in, if a teacher has to be out, you will be equipped to be able to do that. So make sure that you also stay engaged. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at the teacher's guide for the Greatest Journey. So if you would open up in your books to page 49, it should look like this. If everyone would just take a moment to open up, this is where the beginning of the teacher's guide for the Greatest Journey begins. All right, we're going to walk through this quickly. So as you open it, the next page I want to draw your attention to is page 51. This page has the passages that we discussed earlier with the teachers prepare God's people to serve, are an example of Jesus, and stay connected to Jesus. Keep going. Preparation is important. First off, if you just notice that all of these pages at the beginning have these blue headers, and these blue headed pages, these are all pages for teachers. These are for you. These are things to help you learn and grow as a teacher. They're a reference for you to help you think through what your role is and how you can teach and engage children. This page on preparation is important. It is so important that we prepare. Earlier, when we were talking about the vine and the branches, we said it's important for teachers to stay connected to Jesus. Well, and to be an example of Jesus to children. And the only way that we can stay connected to Jesus is by spending time with him. And as we prepare, we're going to need to do that. And in order to be a good example of Jesus to children, we can't come into a classroom all frazzled and we've lost our things and we don't know what we're teaching. Our preparation will allow us to come into these classrooms and be able to be present and be able to engage with the children and not be distracted. There's a page here on learning styles. I encourage you to read through this and consider how different children learn. There's a page here on the role of a teacher versus the role of a child. Don't discount what a child is able to do. There's a page on pages 56 that talks about counseling a child to faith. So this is an important page where we talk about how to counsel a child to faith and then use storytelling to make disciples. There's some resources here on the next page for continuing your journey and making your own Bible lesson. So many valuable things. And then you'll notice on the very next page, page 60, we begin to get to the lessons. The first lesson in the book is called the Welcome Lesson. Now, this lesson is not one of the 12 lessons of the Greatest Journey. It is a welcome lesson or a review lesson. If there's a big gap in time from when you did your outreach events and when you begin your Greatest Journey, we encourage you to start with this lesson because if you look at it, it will be very familiar with what you just did. It actually covers the gospel presentation, again, in a way that is engaging to the children. So we encourage you to do that if you, again, have a gap in time or if there are many children who are joining the Greatest Journey who were not able to come to the outreach event, then it would be a really valuable thing for you to do the welcome lesson so that those children have the opportunity to hear the gospel presented like you did at an outreach event. But for today, we are going to spend our time walking through the lesson 8 of the of the teacher guide. So if you will turn to lesson number 8, it should look like this. It should say, stay close to Jesus. We're going to walk through the steps in the lesson briefly, and then we will actually do a demonstration together of this lesson. So this is just a quick walkthrough, and then we'll do the demonstration. So you'll see here every one of the lessons in the teacher guide follow the same pattern, okay? They're all similar. As you flip through, you'll see that all of them start with these lighter yellow boxes. This is your preparation section. So as you prepare, you're going to want to work through these yellow boxes to get ready for your class. This will make sure that you understand the main idea, the background of the story. It'll list the things that you need to think through in order to prepare, as well as there's an agenda for the lesson and then everything that you will need for that lesson. It's got a list of things. So if you need to think about bringing something valuable in to use as an illustration, or you need to pick up something that is hard, or something that is, have extra paper on hand, or anything like that, the teacher's preparation section will let you know what you need for class. Also, there's some great teacher tips hidden in these little yellow boxes. Make sure that you take time to really look at those and consider some of those teacher tips. All right, so the steps in the lesson always follow this same rhythm. So the first thing we do when children arrive is we play a game with them. Then after a game that kind of gets them moving and having a good time, we're going to review the previous lesson briefly, and we are going to take attendance. Now, in the very back of your book, you will see that this is your Greatest Journey attendance chart. And when you have children come, you'll simply write the names of the children, down the side here. Every child that attends, even if they only come for 1 week or 2 weeks, go ahead and write the name of every child. This also serves as a really good prayer list. As you're thinking through and preparing for your class, you can pray for every child that has come to your class by name. And then every week that they are here, you will mark that they have attended. Now you'll notice up here it says Section 1, Section 2, and Section 3. All that is referring to is that the lessons are divided up into several different sections. And you'll see that as you go through. It's especially evident in the children's books. But the first section is about helping the children understand the gospel. Then we help the children grow in their knowledge of who Jesus is. And then the last section is about helping them to do exactly what we said earlier when we said our goal is to prepare God's people to serve. It's how do we help these children to be disciple makers? How do we help these children to tell the good news that they have learned with others? And so it's helped them to learn how to share their faith with others. You'll also notice here in the back that there are 2 other special categories. One of them says believe in Jesus for the first time. That'll be in lesson 6. They'll have an opportunity to fill out a commitment statement. If you would like to look at that, you can turn in your books to the end of lesson 6, which is on page 109, if you want to look at that really quickly. But this, there's a little spot with a commitment certificate. This is larger in the child's books. And here's something else that's very helpful. Do you see right down here where it says student book, page 45? That is every time that you need to reference the student book, your book will tell you exactly what page the children will find that same lesson on in their books. So if you're working on lesson 6, the children will be on page 45 in their book, and that's where you'll see their pages. So the children's, as we showed you earlier, the children's book is different than your book. Obviously, it doesn't have all of the teacher resources in it, but it is very similar in content. But your book is the one that's going to give you everything that you need to teach effectively. And then the other special box back here is from lesson 9 when children are have the opportunity to commit to pray for other people and share the good news with them. So if the children are there that particular week and they decide to make a decision for Christ, or at any point in the program, you can put a mark in that box. And if they have committed to pray and share for the good news with other people on week 9, you can make an additional mark in that box. And then, of course, the children that complete all the lessons, you'll be able to check and make sure that they've completed all 12 lessons. And if so, you'll be able to tally them in the graduation column. They'll be ready to graduate from the Greatest Journey and receive a Bible that they will receive at that graduation that they'll be able to keep. So you can tally the children that have graduated there in the back as well. Now, if you have a child that has missed a lesson, you are welcome to meet with them after class and share with them the key points of the lesson. And we'll talk about that as we go through. Okay, so in lesson 8, we have now had a fun game. We have reviewed last week's lesson. We marked the attendance chart for everyone who is there. The next thing is always going to be the memory verse. We do the memory verse, as you'll see, in a fun and get up and move kind of way so that the kids have a good time. The next thing is called the Sam story. So Sam is a lovable character that we have that the children really begin to identify and learn from him. Sometimes there's another optional activity. And then we get into the most important part of the entire program, which is called the Bible story, tell the story. And there's a page here for you to be able to show pictures to the children while you're telling the story. And then these are called the Bible discovery questions. If you're looking at page 124 in your books, you will see that every one of our lessons kind of follows this same format for Bible discovery, where we talk about these same 3 questions over and over again. What does this story tell us about Jesus? What does it say about you and me? And what have I learned and what will I do? We always ask those same questions because what we find is that as we ask these children to think through these same things every time, they actually begin to learn how to read God's word and ask questions and study it themselves. There's some optional activities that you can do. We close out with a challenge, a remember activity, and a talk with God. And we're going to demonstrate all of that. But you'll notice that all of the lessons follow this very similar flow. So what I would like for you guys to do now is to go ahead and close your books. And I am going to show you how this lesson works. Now, in the student book, there are a few things that you are going to need to do before you give children their books. One of them is in the very beginning here, you're going to need to remove these little cards, which are the Bible memory verse on one side and a little visual reminder that a child will use when we get to the challenge portion. And you'll see that when we go through the lesson here in just a few minutes. You will also need to remove their graduation certificate so that you will have that for them when they graduate. We want to take these things out of the children's books before we give them to them. All right, so let's demonstrate so you can see what it's like to be in a Greatest Journey classroom. So we're going to demonstrate lesson 8. So once again, I would like for all of you to play along. You're going to be the children. I will be your teacher, and we will demonstrate lesson 8.